Hello everybody, welcome back. It is Monday, December 11th, 2023, and you're listening to episode 177 of the Midnight Film Society podcast. I'm your host, Damian Sherman. Joining me today is...
Derick McDuff.
On today's show, award season is in full swing as me and Derick discuss multiple award contenders, May, December, The Boy and the Heron, Priscilla, and much, much more. Right into the show, Midnight Film Society at gmail.com, Bicycle on Twitter, subscribe on Pocket Cast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, tell a friend, family member, or stranger. What's up, man? How are we doing?
We are doing well, feeling good, feeling ready. Like, it's the end of the year, movie time, Christmas time. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Somebody said that. I don't remember who.
It literally is. Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite Christmas song? Because I'm going to use that to segue into some of the people that have passed away since we last talked. Do you have a go-to?
I am partial to a lot of the more recent Christmas stuff. I like all the Killers Christmas songs. They used to do that once a year. Yeah, I like when the Vandals or Weezer or somebody will do a cover. Anything from the '60s on. Yeah. I think I'm a fan of. Jingle Bell Rock onward is kind of my jam.
Yeah, for a long time, the iFanboy had a tradition of playing two songs at the end of the year. I think one of them for one of the last shows of the year, and then one for the actual show of the year, the best of the year show. The one they played before that for the penultimate show, they played "Darlene Loves Christmas." Parentheses, "Baby Please Come Home." That's a fantastic song. If nobody's ever heard it, definitely recommend looking that up. That goes into your 1960s. Preference there for songs like that. And then the other one they play is Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues. And of course, if anybody's familiar with them, they know that Shane MacGowan, the lead singer of the Pogues, passed away last week, couple weeks ago now, at the age of 65. Very, very troubled guy. I don't know if you've ever saw pictures of him or watched videos of him, even when he was younger, didn't look great. Heavy drinker. Probably did a lot of drugs as well. But yeah,
right.
If anybody knows that
Sex,
song,
drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah, all that stuff. If anybody listens to my top 5 Christmas songs we did at the end of 2019, that was my number one song for that. I think Damian and Carrie listened to that for the first time there. So, do you have any reverence for the Pogues and Fairy Tale of New York?
I don't really know them, but I know some of my friends were like, punk rockers that were older, like me, people in their 40s were talking about it. And I'm talking about it, and I was like, all right, I'll have to give them a listen. Yeah.
Very, very good song. Very great band. So rest in peace to him. And if they did at the funeral, they had a bunch of people playing songs from them, during the procession there, and Glenn Hazard from the movie Once, sang Fairy Tale of New York at the funeral, so that was very cool. So definitely recommend checking that out. I think they have the full performance on YouTube there. So that was pretty cool. And then also Norman Lear passed away, one of the Mount Rushmores, one of the legends of television, American television of the 20th century, really. Right, the big ones that he popularized was All in the Family, Sanford and Son, but dozens and dozens and dozens of other shows that he either co-created or created or produced on or was executive produced on. Some of the biggest TV shows of all time. He helped. 101.
This guy had a hell of a run, and he had some stuff on the big screen too. I'm like looking over that article he sent now. Stand By Me, one of my favorites. Yeah. Let's see. Princess Bride, one of the greatest movies ever made, executive produced by him. So, yeah.
Yes, it was. So what was I say about? Oh, he lasted to 101, just past Henry Kissinger, who rested piss to that man. But he outlasted him by about a week. So that's always good to see. two guys at 100, but one outlasts the other. So Yep. Rest in peace.
Good for him. Good for him.
Good for him. Yep. Rest in peace, both those guys. So let's get into some awards news. Because of the strikes, a lot of the award contenders and a lot of the marketing, a lot of the things that actors and writers and producers usually do on the red carpet to market their films and to advertise their films, they couldn't do up until about 2 weeks ago. So a big scramble. Yeah, a big scramble for all of this stuff. The award shows, people going to the award shows. I know Variety just did their Actors on Actors series this year, which I watched a couple of those. Are you a guy that watches those interviews?
Not really, no. If I like, they do like one of those Variety, like, here's a look retrospective of my life, which they do sometimes when they're trying to build something, I'll watch that, but that's about it.
Yeah, I watched a few of them. Some of them, I go for those things for, a sort of peek behind the curtain in terms of the actor's process and their scenes and stuff. A lot of them, like with Robert Downey Jr. and the guy who was played Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, they did theirs together, and sort of they reminisced about their time doing the Avengers movies and obviously on Zodiac, and talking about how the process was similar-ish. Robert Downey Jr.'s experience had a similar experience on Christopher, the director of Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan. Yeah, Chris Nolan's set was very similar, he said, to Fincher's set. Not in the sense that he did a lot of takes, but just very minute, very, he definitely knew, Nolan definitely knows what he wants to do. I'm not sure, I haven't heard about if he does similar takes to Fincher, but definitely a very calculating, meticulous similarities there. The crossovers there between Fincher and Nolan is what Robert Downey Jr. talked about. And they talked about Mark Ruffalo's promoting Poor Things, his movie with Emma Stone, the Yorgos Lanthimos movie with him and Emma Stone. And I imagine if I was going to ask him a question, it would be something like, how is that compared to something like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which Ruffalo was in? Mm-hmm. That was also a very fantastical and very out there sort of movie in terms of tone and aesthetic. So I'd be very interested to know if you got any similar vibes from that movie as well. So yeah, some of them are interesting. Yeah. Yeah, they had Bradley Cooper and Emma Stone did one. They're on the article here. Variety had their them together, and they had an article featuring them as well. They said the title of the article is Emma Stone and Bradley Cooper spent 6 years each on Poor Things and Maestro. Apparently, Bradley Cooper learned how to conduct an orchestra doing that, so that was interesting. So this is is the man's version of Tar this year.
Seems like overkill, but sure.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. If you have the time and you have the resources to do it, you might as well do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as long as you're not like mailing people dead pigs and condoms. Go ahead, do your method stuff, whatever.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy because he seems like pretty down to earth and pretty self-aware guy, but also he does get into that, like you said, method acting. Not really. I'm not sure it was method, but just got enmeshed into that world and sort of learned how to do those things. Mm-hmm. So it definitely seems cool. Seems more down to earth than Mr. Jared Leto. Yeah. So speaking
of, good to hear.
Yeah, speaking of end of year stuff, we had the first sort of the first award show that's out of the gates is always the Gotham Independent Awards. I have the 2022 slate pulled up, and it was the ones we knew were going into it. That one it's a good
hosted by Harvey Dent, right? The Gotham Awards.
Exactly. Yeah. And then of course broken into by the Joker or the Riddler, one of the myriad rogues galleries, men and women. So last year the award show generally picks the movies that's going to win at the Oscars later the following year. They obviously predicted Everything Everywhere at Once because that got Best Feature. Tar got Best Screenplay. Best documentary feature was All That Breathes. This is last year's winners. All the Beauty and the Bloodshed was on there. What We Leave Behind was on there. And they were talking about this on the Big Pick this week of how good last year and how good most years are for best documentary feature, just in general too. I don't know if you can just sort of off the top of your head think of a documentary that you saw this year. I mean, I know you're a sports guy, so it's probably the one that's on the top of mind. But just in general, do you think that this year has been a worse year for documentaries?
I mean, I did watch a couple really good YouTube documentaries, but I don't know if those would even be eligible for awards recognition. So yeah, I'm racking my brain. I don't think I saw really a ton of docs that came out this year.
Yeah, just to do a quick comparison point here, you had, like I said, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed was the Laura Petros documentary about the social activist Nan Goldin. That was a very good documentary. That was probably one of the best ones I saw last year. Of course, you had Fire of Love, I believe. Was that this year or was that last year?
That was last year.
That was last year. Yeah, right? That seems like...
Yeah, that was last year.
Are you sure? I thought that it was like Fire of Love. Oh yeah, it's 2022, but again, it's one of those things that sort of comes out late. Okay, yes, you're right. Yeah,
no, I saw that that came out in like the summer of 2022.
Yeah, that was one of those that was like it came out in 2022. I only saw it late last year.
It came out in July 6th. I saw that. It was because you saw it on streaming. It's just
I did. Yeah. So there was that last year. There was a couple of documentaries from last year that were very good. Yeah. The previous year, 2021, the documentary Flea won Best Documentary at the Gotham Awards. That was the animated film about I'm trying to find the guy's name. It was directed by Jonas Poner Rasmussen. It was about let me see here. Ahmed Nawabi was a refugee in Denmark, escaping Afghanistan as the war started breaking out there. Very, very interesting doc. In that same year, you had things like Ascension. Summer of Love was one of my favorite documentaries from that year. So this year, you do have something like 20 Days in Mariupol about the Ukrainian war there. So that's probably going to be a awards contender. But yeah, just in general, I agree with Sean Fantasy when he said that this is sort of a weak year for documentaries, unfortunately.
Yeah, I watched a couple indie ones that I don't think will get any awards recognition.
Yeah.
I watched one that came out at it was I think it was Sundance or TIFF or one of those ones. I wrote a big review about it on my Letterboxd. I'll probably put up on my Medium too. It's called Youth Spring, and it was long and boring. So
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
just bad necessarily, but yeah,
yeah. Just to go through some of them. The best documentary feature from this year, Four Daughters won. I haven't even heard of that. Let me see. Do a quick Google search about this. Let's see. So the synopsis on IMDb is: between light and darkness stands Ulfa, a Tunisian woman and her mother of 4 daughters. One day, her 2 older daughters disappear. Filmmaker Kathu Ben Hania invites professional actresses to fill in their absences. Oh, okay. So So Sean Fantasy was talking about this, where it had a similar feel to. He mentioned. I was like, oh yeah, I want to see that. Right, I think I have seen it. Not that it was called The Bay. No, it was called not The Bay. What's another word for like a port
cove?
city? Cove, not a cove.
I've seen that documentary.
Yeah. What was it called? Damn it! But anyways, it sounded familiar to that. So that seems pretty good. So best international feature went to Anatomy of a Fall. Some of the nominations that we can sort of see what might get nominated. Like I think you mentioned Anatomy of a Fall being so much having so much English words in it. It might not be nominated for best international feature, but this was obviously. So Poor Things was put into there, which is strange. I'm pretty sure I haven't
seen
it.
I think they have different rules than the Academy does with those things.
Yeah. So Zone of Interest and All of Us Strangers were also nominated in there. Anemone of Fall won Best Screenplay, which I definitely agree with. Charles Melton for May December, which I'll talk about later. Huge, big name. Getting a lot of praise, getting a lot of love, getting a lot of expectations for winning the big awards this year. So I definitely we'll expect to see him picking up more awards as the season goes on. And then we have Lily Gladstone, which she did not actually win for Killers of the Flower Moon. She won for another movie called The Unknown Country. I'm not sure if you're even aware of this.
Huh.
Aware of this
film?
No,
I had not even heard of it.
Yeah. I put it on my to watch list, the ever growing to watch list.
Yeah.
On my Letterboxd there, and then of course best feature went to Past Lives. The other nominees were Passages, Reality, Showing Up at 1,000 to 1. So some very they got them more sort of. The Gotham Awards very much...
They're indies, right?
Yeah, very much indie award circuit there. So that's why a lot of those movies that you expect to see as best feature weren't there, like Killers of the Flower Moon and others were left off the list there. So yeah, very interesting. Gives you definitely a sense of what's going to win in the coming months.
Yeah, see how this plays out with all the other awards. Like you said, this is just the indies, so it's just a fraction of the eligible stuff.
Yeah, they didn't have things like the AFI had their top list. And all right, so AFI Best Movies of the Year. Last year, their top movies were Avatar: Way of Water, Elvis, Fableman, She Said. This year, their best movies were American Fiction, which I still have to see, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, May December, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So out of these, is this pretty much the makeup of Best Picture at the Oscars this year, you think? Is there anything that's going to be swapped out for anything else, you think?
I mean, I think that there'll be a few things that are swapped out, but this sounds like it's the template they're probably going to be drawing from for a lot of it, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so after that, Spotify Wrapped, are you on Spotify, or are you one of those weird Apple Music or Amazon Music?
No. I'm not I saw, that meme where it's like, know the rules, and it's like the woman, like, she's like, oh, hey, and then she's like calling HR, and it's like, the Spotify Wrapped is it's like, hey, looking good here, but it's just like a picture of the Spotify Wrapped, and then, oh, hey, and then, so... I thought that was really good. Yeah, yep. No, I showed you my Spotify Wrapped.
You did, yes. I have the memory of a goldfish. You should know this. Was there anything surprising on there, or anything you were like, yeah, I know, of course that was on here?
No, I mean, it's a lot of the stuff I put on every night to fall asleep to.
Oh yeah, so you got
for
rain.
A lot of it,
rain. The sound of rain is your top.
Rain. I think that's what it was last year, but I think that they stopped logging that because it's just rain. But it was a lot of like lo-fi, like the top 5 songs were all just like this Zelda lo-fi remix thing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of that, and a couple soundtracks, and then like everyone, and it would be like, you listen to Kate Bush a shit ton after Stranger Things. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody did.
Yeah.
Just a couple of recommendations for people, because we haven't really talked about music on here really ever. Mm-hmm. So just very quickly, some of the stuff on here that I listen to, a lot of indie girl indie sad music is my template for what I listen to a lot. So we got Big Thief.
Spotify has made me a playlist thinking that I'm a sad lesbian before. It's like, here, it's a song. It was like, it's like for When She Leaves, and the cover was like a woman crying, and I was like.
So just a couple of the artists on here. Big Thief, they're very good. Definitely recommend checking them out. Boy Genius, which is obviously Julian Baker, Phoebe Bridgers, and Lucy Dacus. They're super group. Big Thief. Snail Mail is very good. Snail Mail sounds like it's like a 22-year-old girl from New York, but it does have heavy influences of stuff like Sonic Youth. So if you're into that sort of thing, definitely check her out. Father John Misty, which I don't know if anybody knows his name, but if you put on one of his songs.
I've seen him at Coachella.
Oh, you did? Oh, interesting. Yeah. He's very good. I like a lot of his stuff.
All of his fans were very annoying.
Are they annoying?
They all had shirts that just said father on them. They all have daddy issues.
Mountain Goats is probably one of my favorite bands out there. I mentioned them when we talked about Poker Face this year. He was one of the guest stars on that show. from that show. Let's see, Boy Genius, Car Seat Headrest is a fantastic indie band. And who else? One more. I'll throw out one more. Neutral Milk Hotel. In the Airplane Over the Sea. One of the best songs from the 90s. One of the best indie folk songs from the 90s. Highly recommend them. So there is that. Yeah, go ahead.
I always just think of, whenever I hear that band, I always think of the episode of Parks and Rec where, like, April says that would be, like, her like, hall pass or whatever. And Andy gets all mad about it. And then it's like, what's your favorite place to do it or whatever? And Andy writes for his answer, like, because they're playing the Newlywoods game at the Neutral Milk Hotel.
That's awesome. I love a lot of those bloopers that always get passed around. The one where he's like, they're having like a public hearing or something, public meeting, and they were talking about like best comebacks of all time, and they were Amy was talking about one of them. They mentioned like, OJ or whatever, something like that. And then Andy was like, yeah, Kim Kardashian. He's like, well, I don't know about that. He's like, well, she had a lot of come over back in that one video.
And it's just everyone breaks. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, so what do you think we get to what we have been watching? A bunch of stuff this week. Right. I came on the show, was like, I have one big omission, but I did still see a lot of stuff. I finished up Blue Eye Samurai this week, one of the big animated shows from this year. This is streaming on Netflix right now, created by Amber Noizumi and Michael Green. Apparently they're a married couple. They created this. You have the voices of Maya Erskine, George Takei, Masaoka Takai, yeah?
Yeah.
Takai, yeah. Randall Park is very good in this. Kenneth Branagh is very good in this. So the synopsis is, during Japan's Edo period, the 17th century, half white, half Japanese swordmaster Mizu quests for vengeance against 4 white men who illegally remain in Japan during the closing of its borders by the Tokugawa Shogunate. So this is a revenge story. It's got a lot of those sort of templates and those plot points of like, yes, of course this has in it. Anytime, Derick, I'm wondering if you notice this, if you pick up on this and you predict this plot beat, which is fairly common. So one person says to another, hey, this thing is getting planned. This machination is in the works. This guy's gonna betray you. This person's gonna turn on you. This thing's gonna happen. And then the other person turns to the other person and goes, who else knows about this? When somebody says, who else knows about this? What immediately goes off in your brain?
I don't know what you're talking about. Like
in a movie or a piece of media where somebody is revealing a secret to another person, and upon revelation, the other person says, who else knows about this? What is about to happen? What's the next step?
Find out who knows about it. I don't know.
Whenever somebody says, who else knows about this, you should immediately, an alarm bell should go off in your head. Oh, that person to kill that person. Because that person is asking the other person who else knows about this, so they can...
Oh, I hear what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like very confused on the context. The way you delivered that.
Okay.
Phrased it. Yeah, it was like very confusing to me. Okay.
That's like what's that website, TV Tropes, right? I feel like the trope. That's like a very common trope of somebody revealing information to another character, and that character then killing that person before, if they know that there's only one person that knows that thing. Yeah.
Well, it's just, and then they say just you, just me, and then it's like, okay, and they bang.
Yeah, okay. Yes, okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about now. Yeah,
you gotta give me the just me, and then I would know what you're talking about.
Okay, my bad. Okay. So this is, let me see, 8 episodes. Each episode is about 45 minutes with credits. It's very good. I think it's it's not. What's that phrase? It's not remaking the wheel. It's doing a lot of these tropes. It's doing this sort of storytelling this way, and it's not really doing anything new with that. But the animation and the moment-to-moment stuff, the action, the choreography, all of that stuff. This is like John Wick animated. This very much feels like, what's that Japanese samurai movie Keanu Reeves was in, 23 Ronin?
Something like that? I think 27 samurai or something like that.
27 samurai.
Some number of samurai. When you said that and you said like the half breed thing, I was like, because that's what they call them. They're like half breed.
Yeah.
It's like immediately where my mind went.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, half Japanese, half white guy.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves was in that movie, and which has been in the news recently because the guy who made that movie, who's Keanu Reeves' friends, stole a bunch of money from Netflix.
Oh, okay. I heard about that. Yeah. He was making
gambled
something.
It on he took $55 million of Netflix's money and didn't make anything, and like used like 10 million of it and like put it on like what do you call it, NFTs and stuff like that, or like crypto.
Oh no. Well,
and he like lost a bunch of money, and then he made a bunch of money, and like it's crazy. The whole story is insane.
Yeah. So this is very good. Highly recommend checking this out. What was I going to say about it? It's very adult. I think going forward, I think I want to see more of this adult stuff. I think a lot of
I like to watch adult stuff sometimes.
Adult things, yes, things for adults.
Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Not that thing, you dirty mind. Get your mind out of the gutter. Next year, I think we're going to see like a 2 rated R. Or there could be 2 rated R MCU things coming down the pike. The Deadpool 3 and also Blade. Blade should be rated R because you have to have him saying some version of "a motherfucker is always trying to ice skate uphill."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. It's such a great line. It makes all the sense.
It does. So moving on. Speaking of awards contenders, December was one of the big movies that were anticipated this year. I have my most anticipated movies and things pulled up right now. I believe, was this on here? I'm trying to scroll down. I don't think this was on here. I know Priscilla was on here. That was number 24. Maestro 17. How Do You Live, which is obviously The Boy and the Heron, was 16. This was not on here for whatever reason. I think this might have been our nerd list or our genre list that we made earlier in the year. But it's obviously directed by Todd Haynes. Did Carol. Did many other things. Did the Velvet Underground documentary. Speaking of best documentaries of the past few years, he did the Velvet Underground documentary. Did Mildred Pierce, the HBO miniseries. Great director. I don't know if you're a fan of Mr. Haynes' work.
I was like thinking about, because like everybody's been talking about him because of December, and I was like, I don't think I've seen any of his movies, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm pretty slacking as well. I saw the Velvet Underground documentary. I saw Carol. Mm-hmm. I do have to go back and watch things like I'm Not There and Far From Heaven, also starring Julianne Moore. But yeah, this is very good. This is I feel like going into this, you really, really, really have to be on its wavelength, and you really have to like not ignore, but just allow for the movie to be weird and to have this Lynchian suburban malaise. Definitely the music is highly inspired by things like Wild at Heart and Blue Velvet. The whole movie has this like Vaseline smeared lens. It's all like blown out. It's super like not blurry, but just very blown out whites and lights and very stilted, not New Yorkers Land at the most level stilted dialogue, but very dramatic, very soap opera-y delivery to a lot of the dialogue here. One of the best Natalie Portman performances I've seen in a long time. Julianne Moore is always incredible. And then, of course, you have to talk about Charles Melton just coming out of nowhere, playing the I think it's supposed to be like 25 or 26, the actual character. This is obviously not even, I want to say loosely based on it, but very, very closely based on the Mary Kay Letourneau story of the woman that raped the child when he was like 12. I won't get into too many details, but I was sort of upset and sort of surprised that nobody said the word rape in this movie because, if you're going to make a movie that's even sort of about this or taking some sort of critical lens to the story, I feel like somebody at some point has to at least allude to the fact that she raped a child. That's what she did. And it's just very, very kind of frustrating for me that never even came up in this movie. Let's see. We also have you have a lot, sort of a big cast and sort of a lot of people coming through this. You have Gracie, who plays Mary Kay Letourneau, that sort of analogous here. She has her like other family come through this, and you have Corey Michael Smith playing Georgie, her other son from a previous marriage, very much just is the one that comes into this and doesn't try to placate, doesn't try to he very much plainly states that this situation is bullshit. This whole scenario is not healthy or normal in any way. So I definitely appreciate that a little bit. I do have to point out, because it's on the Wikipedia here, one of the best reviews of this movie that was on Letterboxd. They talked about this on the Letterboxd show this week. Somebody just said as a review, Persona. And so Todd Haynes has said that Persona was a big influence on this movie, and Mary Kay Letourneau and also Gracie in this movie have a lisp. So that's the joke is Persona, saying the influence.
I'm sure it would have been hilarious if I had any context at all.
But again, the way I explain things doesn't go over well to experience the thing itself. Yeah. But yeah, highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's on MyPlex. So anybody can sort of check it out that way. So May, December, highly recommend. Yep.
May, December. It's something I mean to watch, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Let's get to something we both watched, Godzilla -1. Did you have this on your radar at all? Because I really didn't, as far as this coming out. Being excited for about a month ago, like I heard it was getting a lot of buzz and a lot of traction. A lot of people who I know some people who are big like kaiju Godzilla fans, and I heard a little bit of whispers from them, and then all like just everybody was giving it crazy review, like just hyping this thing up like super.
Yeah. So did you have any thoughts about, like, at the beginning of this movie, about quarter way through, like, oh, this is drawing a lot of influences from a certain movie with a boat and a thing in the water?
A movie with a boat and a thing in the water.
A creature in the water coming to attack a boat. And people have to be in the water and drawing the thing to the boat.
Oh, Jaws! Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did think of that in that first scene when. Oh, Jesus, Damian! The Jaws. Yes, it's a movie about a boat and a
thing in the water.
A boat and a thing in the water.
Yeah.
Fucking I mean, I guess that's technically correct. But yeah, no, I definitely was like, especially in that scene, which is I think one of the best scenes of the whole film, when they first encounter the fully sized Godzilla out on the ocean. I was getting some real Jaws vibes, especially since you would see kind of like just the top of his head, his eyes kind of looking out and stuff like that. I could definitely feel those monster movie influences here.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I very much enjoyed this. This is just raking in a bunch of money, getting a lot of praise from a lot of people, because it is, it's essentially about the people. I think they've tried to do this multiple times, even in the earliest Godzilla movies, the original ones, and of course the remake in 2014. And then just, trying to focus on the people, but it's like, no, fuck it. We want, Americans to be like, I want the creature. Show me more creature. So this is, I think this is like...
this had more Godzilla in it than Godzilla 2014. I don't know if I agree with that assessment.
Well, I mean, whether the assessment's wrong or right, I did enjoy this movie due to that fact, due to the fact that it very much focuses on the people, and you do definitely get very, very emotional because of that fact, because you're so invested in these people. What do you think in general, going forward right now, we'll go full spoilers for Godzilla -1, starting right now. What do you think in general, and this movie specifically, about a character seemingly being killed but then being brought back? Do you think that takes away from, because one of the big things of the movie is sacrifice, and what are you willing to sacrifice for, your country and for your family and for a found family? A lot of the moments in this movie are showing people almost dying, and then it's revealed that they didn't. Do you think that takes away from that moment of sacrifice if they don't actually give their life for the people?
Well, I think the entire point of the movie is don't sacrifice yourself. That's the entire point. Like, that's where they come down, being like they're like, they have that guy gives the speeches like, oh, are we gonna die? And he's like, let's have this be the first war where nobody dies. Let's all not die. And they're all like, hey, you know how you want, like, your whole character arc is you're feeling sad because you didn't sacrifice yourself, and you think you should sacrifice yourself at the end? don't do that. Everyone is constantly telling him not to do that. And so you're like, well, he's not going to do that. And then you're kind of like, the thing you're alluding to is the female love interest character who seemingly dies about halfway through. Noriko.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not a shock that she's going to come back at the end because of all of those themes, and also because you don't see her die. You see her get blown away, and then the guy's like, "Where did she go? She was dead!" And I'm like, "She's not. I've watched movies before. I did not see a corpse. She's coming back." And at first, I was like, and it's funny because I actually talked to my friend about this, so I just saw the movie with about 2 hours ago, and I was like waiting for the whole movie, like they're gonna bring her back, and I don't know if that's gonna be a good decision. But then when it happened in the moment, and probably because of the themes of sacrifice is dumb and bad, and don't sacrifice yourself, work together and accomplish things without having to having to get yourself fucking killed. Kamikaze is bad and dumb. That when she came back at the end, I was like, this kind of worked for me.
Yeah, and you're probably right. I do want to talk about another movie that didn't work for me because of the lack of permanent sort of loss. Your Name. I don't know if you've seen Your Name.
I have not.
Okay. Well, then I won't spoil it for you, but there's some... I personally feel like there was some backtracking in terms of one character doesn't... Or actually, yeah, both characters sort of sacrificed a lot, and then at the end, they sort of but not really. I don't know. I think more stories and more movies and more media should have things of people die a lot and loss happens, and I think dealing with that loss and dealing with the permanent consequences of actions, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's just
no. I know what you're trying to say because I thought I was having those thoughts going waiting for her to come back.
Yeah,
because I thought that's what they were, with her not being, not seeing a body. I was like, well, she's coming back, and I was waiting for that moment to be like, okay, yeah, it's such an easy thing to do. It's something I hate about, quote unquote comic book death is when a character dies in a comic book or a superhero movie and they just come back really easily, it cheapens it,
Yeah.
And, but in this, it kind of worked for me. I was surprised at the ending being like, I kind of like this. And I think it's because of the theme being so much just no, don't do that. I think that's why it worked for me.
Yeah. Very, very scary Godzilla. Very scary and very anxiety-ridden sort of last moment there when he's doing the what's it called? Not photon blast, but just the mouth blast. Him charging up and about to shoot his blast at the boats there, and the sort of the slow motion sweeping camera movements showing all the people sort of preparing to be fucking vaporized, and then them having that very cool sort of Independence Day moment of him flying the plane into the thing's mouth with the bomb, and it was very, very cool. Yeah, definitely one of the most goosebump-ridden moments from 2023 so far.
Yeah, you think this is you? So you liked it a lot? Would you say it's maybe in your top 10?
Right now, do I have? Maybe it's possible.
I almost got you.
Yeah, I cannot confirm nor deny it is in my top 10. How about that?
All right, man.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else to say about that before we move on to other things?
I liked it. I thought it was a fun monster movie. I don't think it was I liked, you cared a lot about the characters. There's a lot of moments for characters to grow and develop and stuff like that. I was not as high up on it as a lot of other critics and stuff, but I did think it was a pretty good movie.
Yes, indeed. Keeping with the sort of World War II Japanese themes, you saw The Boy and the Heron. Like I said, this was on my top 15 most anticipated movies when it was called How Do You Live? What you think of The Boy and the Heron?
Yeah, well, I mean, this was my number one most anticipated movie.
Nice.
So I am a very big Miyazaki fan. I've seen all of his films. A lot of his films are some of my favorite movies of all time. And this did not disappoint. It was really great. I got to see it early access, on IMAX, which was cool. And yeah, it's one of those movies that you're like watching and you're like, what is even going to happen in this? It's hard to talk about it without giving a lot of stuff away.
Yeah,
but yeah, the themes. Well, if you just having what we were talking about with like grief and losing people, that's what this film is all about. It's all about like moving on in life and dealing with the people that you have lost. Like the first scene, it deals with a tremendous loss for the main character, and really the course of the movie is kind of him learning to deal with that in a way that only fantasy movies can allow you to. So yeah, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Probably a top 5 Miyazaki for me. Just nothing looks like these movies. Absolutely stunning visuals. His character is always really interesting. Like he's got this character, this main character, who's just kind of a little shit. Like he sucks a little bit at the beginning. Yeah. He's just like, but he goes on this really incredible journey through this very trippy Alice in Wonderland-esque world. So yeah, I would recommend this to just about anybody.
Very cool. Something they talked about on Mel and Joe's show that they just did about this. They pulled a quote from a conversation that Miyazaki and Roger Ebert had in 2002. Roger Ebert told Miyazaki that he loves the quote-unquote gratuitous motion in his films, the size, the walks, the background and foreground elements, the extra stuff. Ebert says, quote, instead of every movement being dictated by the story, sometimes people will just sit for a moment, or they will sigh, or they will look in a running stream or do something extra, not to advance the story, but only to give the sense of time and place and who they are. Miyazaki replied, we have a word for that in Japanese. It's called ma, emptiness. It's there intentionally. The time in between my clapping is ma. If you have to stop action with no breathing space at all, it's just busyness. But if you take a moment, then the tension building in the film can grow into a wider dimension. If you just have a constant tension at 80 degrees all the time, you just get numb. So, yeah, I love those like little moments of, in Ponyo or in Kiki's Delivery Service or in Whisper the Heart especially. They have these moments where people are just doing things. They're just making a meal or reading a book or just doing their homework and on their desk with the window open and the breeze from outside coming through. Are there moments like this in this movie, and how do they compare to other Miyazaki movies like that?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of those just character beats, character moments where people are just acting like people. There's actually, I wish I could remember what it was called, but I watched a video essay that like pulled that quote and like elaborated on just the ma of Miyazaki. Because yeah, there's a lot of just these gaps, these moments where people just do things, just they'll have vocal tics or whatever like that, or they'll move in a certain way. There's a lot of that in this one too.
Nice. And you saw this in Japanese. I know people are praising. I believe it was Christian Bale was in this as well, right?
The English voice cast is very, very good, but I always try to see things in the original language.
Yeah, I do as well. I saw most of the Studio Ghibli movies in 2020 in Japanese. I did sort of go through and sort of pick out different, look at clips of the movies in English, and I think it's just I don't know. There's just something about the Japanese language and the fact that they are just they're saying it in the native tongue. Obviously, they're animating the mouths to move in that native tongue, so I feel like there's just a little bit too much of a disconnect between what the characters are saying and how they're saying them when you apply a different sort of cadence to it with the English language.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of seeing films in the way that they are intended to be seen, whether that be just like we talked about Godzilla -1. Yeah, I think because things are animated, it's there's like an excuse to watch a dub, but people wouldn't really at least not a lot of moderate audiences would want to watch a dub of something like Godzilla -1.
No, definitely not. All right, so that was The Boy and the Heron. Something we both watched, Saltburn. This got a lot of mixed reactions. I think we talked about this last time. Just all over the place.
Just like Barry Keoghan's wiener, just all over the place.
Just all over the place, yeah.
This is flopping in the wind.
This is obviously the follow-up, Emerald Fennell's follow-up to Promising Young Woman. I believe that movie came out just before you started coming on the pod. So real quick, did you see Promising Young Woman? And if so, what'd you think of it?
I saw Promising Young Woman. I thought it was well made, but I had some issues with it. And it felt kind of toothless, and also kind of like, its main character deserved better than the ending. The ending was, I felt, pretty shitty.
Yeah.
I liked this a lot better than I liked Promising Young Woman, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. I feel like some of the stuff I said about it was, it's so clearly drawing on references to other, like, not try-hard, but like edgy things. Like, definitely, Talented Mr. Ripley was one commonality that people are drawing to. I sort of saw a lot of Cruel Intentions, the movie from I think 99 or 2000.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of that, private school, upper crust people being shitty. I saw that influence definitely in here. I don't know. I just felt like it was a very sort of flat sort of cinematography to it. I don't feel like there was a lot of splashy sort of shots to this. I feel like I've seen Barry Keoghan do a lot of different things. I feel like the reveal at the end is sort of like, yeah, of course, he's a fucking weirdo. He's a weird little guy. Weird little guys will do that.
When is Barry Keoghan not a weird little guy?
Yeah, exactly. Jacob Elordi was, again, just fine in this. I feel like there's so many people in this. Richard E. Grant that were just...
He was great. I thought Richard E. Grant was great. Him and Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, it is, but it's one of those things where you're like, I know what they can do, I know what they're capable of, and I feel like they weren't used to their full capabilities. Like, I hate that phrase of like, you're not living up to your potential, but I feel like the potential for what Rosamund Pike has done in Gone Girl and other things is just like, this could have been really anybody else could have filled this role. I don't know if you feel that way, but Richard E. Grant, I feel like, especially Rosamund Pike, really weren't used to their full extent of their capabilities.
I don't know, man. I thought they were like, I really liked all of the acting performances in this. Jacob Elordi, who I just had seen in another movie we'll be talking about, who was I didn't recognize it was the same person. It broke my mind. And I thought both Richard E. Grant and Rosamund Pike were phenomenal.
Yeah.
I really liked both of them. No one definitely could have been Barry Keoghan. He's so good at being that
That's
weird
true.
little conniver. So it's just a weird little gremlin man, who's like 5'5" or whatever. And I was also just like, I loved it. I was like, God, this is a movie like it's like fucking like now 2006 is or 2007. That time period is nostalgic. It's like, oh yeah, look, Richard E. Grant is just cracking up watching Superbad in his mansion, and they're going to take a drive, and they're like shouting Mr. Brightside. I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, like, is this how people in the 90s felt when they would be like, look, bell bottoms, bro, remember those? Like, it's the same thing, Like, now I get why my parents were like, oh yeah, this is cool back in the day. I'm like, yeah. Superbad and the Killers are fucking best. This is great.
It was very interesting to set it specifically in 2006 and then have so many touchstones of 2007 in it. Like, I don't know, it didn't bother me. Genuinely, it didn't bother me, but I can understand why it would for some people.
Well, because it's supposed to be right. Doesn't it go? Because it's like the class of 2006. So, like, isn't it 2007 by the time they go to summer break?
It might be. I don't know.
That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a masterpiece, but it was a fun little weird movie. And I was like, I genuinely think that it's a very divisive movie, and I get why people wouldn't like it, because there's parts of this movie that are fucking weird, and like you say, it's not like the most interestingly shot film, but I don't know, it was good. And by the way, Archie Matiku, I can't pronounce this. He's having a year. This dude's having a year, you know?
Yes. Let's see. What else was he in? Saltburn, Gran Turismo, and Saltburn. Oh, okay. He's that guy. Gotcha.
Yep,
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, and also apparently he's in Beau is Afraid, as I haven't seen this yet, Laughing Man. So
you definitely got to check that out. Let's see. Let's go to Napoleon, another big one of the year that I've heard very mixed reactions to. What'd you think of this?
This movie is it's the theatrical cut of Kingdom of Heaven. That's what I felt. I was like, this feels exactly like that, where it's like there's clearly like time is going way too fast. They're covering so much ground. I feel like there's just big chunks of this missing, and with Ridley being like, there's a 4-hour cut that's going to come at some point. I'm like, well, that's going to be the Kingdom of Heaven theatrical cut. That's going to be the masterpiece with the big battles and where things flow and make sense. Until then, it's just a fine movie, you know, pacing issues for sure. But I think Vanessa Kirby's pretty great in it. It's kind of hard to follow, because he's just like rapidly like climbing the ranks of Napoleon's shit, and you're just like, okay, I guess he's the emperor now. All right, cool. He got his you're just like, what? There's a coup happening. All right, and then this guy will be his friend, but now he's his enemy 2 scenes later, and you're like, oh yeah, sure. But then it's also just like a movie about how like the great man thing is a myth. Napoleon was a fucking weird little weirdo. Like he just stopped short of casting Barry Keoghan as Napoleon, you know? Honestly. And like Joaquin Phoenix is just doing I don't know if you've seen the marketing for this movie, but it's all like the memes, because there's so much shit in this that's like funny, like meme culture almost. Like when he's just like Vanessa Kirby calls him fat, and he's like, "Destiny has brought me this pork chop," and you're like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" It's just there's so many stupid ass lines that are so funny. It's like a weird rom-com at times. So I don't know. I'm just waiting for the full version of this movie.
Full version, gotcha. And this was 2 hours and 30 minutes. So
yeah. It feels like a short 2 hours and 30 minutes, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So do you think any chance of him or Vanessa Kirby getting nominations for their roles in this?
I don't think him. I liked Vanessa Kirby a lot in it. I don't know if the Academy will. It seems like they might give her the like Ana de Armas in Blonde thing, where they were like, yeah, this movie was going to maybe get awards recognition, but it sucked. But the acting was good in it, you know?
Yeah.
Although that was like, maybe like we feel bad for Ana de Armas for having to be in Blonde.
Yes. Exactly. Jesus, that fucking movie, right?
That movie was, oh my God, it made me so angry.
Yes. So very quickly, let me go through some of the stuff I've watched since the last time that were sort of like, yeah, pretty good. Suzumi was the third film. I think it's not like an official trilogy. Nobody said it's a trilogy, but it's the third movie from the director of Your Name and Weathering with You. Trying to find the person's name. Makoto Shinkai. Yeah, Makoto Shinkai, of course. Yep, heard his name. It is the third one of those. The film follows 17-year-old girl Suzumi Iwata and the younger stranger Sauta Munokata, who team up to prevent a series of disasters across Japan by sealing doors from the colossal supernatural worm that causes earthquakes after being released. So a lot of these movies are very much about, and pretty clearly about, climate change, but also, just like the 2016 Shin Godzilla about it's natural disasters, but also man-made disasters. So the Shin Godzilla was very much a response.
Is that what the Pope's Exorcist was about?
Yes. Climate change?
Yeah.
What's that?
They're like, there's all these different portals around the world, and it was done by the Catholic Church. You got to close them up.
Yes, this is the animated version of Pope's Exorcist.
I'm giving Pope's Exorcist too much credit. Sorry, when you said closing portals around the world, climate change is like, the Pope's Exorcist was a secret green masterpiece. Okay.
Exactly. So yeah, like I said, follow up to Your Name, Weathering with You. Have you seen those two movies? Either of those two films?
Nope, I have not. I remember when this one came out, one of our friends was like, you want to go see this? It's from the guy who made Your Name. And I was like, I haven't seen that either.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Didn't see either of them.
Would like to get your take on the ending of Your Name. This is, the thing people probably talk about this the most, or the things people probably talk about. The thing you probably heard about this movie and Your Name and Weathering with You is the animation style. It's very just skies and clouds and grass and just very technically massive technical achievement. I'm not sure, I think the Miyazaki movies, especially Born the Heron, the reason I think it takes so long between projects is because it just takes that long. I think a lot of the cells were hand-drawn. I don't believe this was hand-drawn. I believe this was a lot of CGI, which I'm not sure how I feel about that right now because, I praised Blue Eyed Samurai, but I've seen that sort of animation. I think it's becoming more and more popular. I think with the production houses, must be an easier way to produce things, but I'm really not a fan of that stuff. Are you a fan of like Rooster Teeth and their animated show Ruby by chance?
No, I know that's based on like the manga or whatever. I'm not a big Rooster Teeth guy. I used to watch Red vs. Blue back in the day.
Yeah.
So is it computer animated or does it just use digital keys? Because there is a difference.
I believe it's digital keys. I believe that's one of my big pet peeves with that animation style is that it's very choppy. It's very sort of low frame rate. It's very just flat panels and flat backgrounds. And, this Suzumi is very much not that. It's got very dynamic backgrounds and very fluid animation to it. So it's I think you put this up against like Blue Eye Samurai or Ruby and it's just blows it out of the water, really. So very, very cool. Just to go into that, just for the animation style for that. On Netflix, they had a movie called Fair Play, which I believe it would pair well with something like Promising Young Woman or Saltburn, in that it has this like, fourth, fifth wave feminism, whatever you want to call it, of like, women want to exceed in the workplace. They want to prosper in the workplace, and they'll do anything to do it. They're just like men. They'll fuck over people. They'll do this and that. So it's very much that like, 21st century, woman in the workplace is crazy and psychotic and you can't trust them, blah, 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 blah. That sort of thing. Okay. So, yeah, it's on Netflix. It's directed and written by Chloe Dumont. Stars Phoebe Denver from Bridgerton, and, of course, Alden Ehrenreich, one of the toughest names to pronounce.
Phoebe Waller-Bridgerton, as I call
it. Alden Ehrenreich was, of course, Solo, and in... was he the guy in Hail Caesar?
Yeah, I was about to say Hail Caesar. I was like, he's Hail Caesar.
Yes, yeah. We have Eddie Marsan, who you've probably don't know him by name, but he's one of those.
He's the voice of everything in the 90s.
Was
he's
he?
Like
this guy,
Eddie Marsan, or am I thinking of the wrong guy?
This guy.
Oh, never mind. No, okay. That guy. Never mind. I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah.
I know exactly. Yeah, I've seen that guy. He's always like a guy. He's like always in a gangster movie or something like that. He's like, I think he's friends with like that, all those directors like Guy Ritchie and stuff like that.
Yes, I very much remember him for his role in Atomic Blonde, where he's like he's the asset that has to be extracted. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but
hey, Sherlock Holmes, I'm your rival. I'm a police commissioner who don't like you much, Sherlock. I don't remember how he sounds. That's how he sounds in my brain, though.
I actually haven't seen any of those. So you talk about the Guy Ritchie Sherlock movies? Yeah. I haven't seen any of those. Yeah. Fortunately. One more, or a couple more. A Naiad came out this year, directed by Elizabeth Chai Vasarely and Jimmy Chin. It is about Diana Naiad, who swam across. She did the English Channel, and then she was one of the first people to attempt to do the swim from Cuba to Miami. She tried it a bunch of times in the 70s and 80s, and then came back and spoiler alert for this movie, she does actually do it. I think it's one of the things you can just say, that she does actually accomplish the things she set out to do, because very much, speaking of tropes, and speaking of movies that don't reinvent the wheel, this very much does that thing. It is very much a movie about overcoming adversity and doing the thing. So Yep, definitely recommend
Just
that.
do the thing. Gotcha.
She does the thing. Yep. And another one, I finished up the top 5 movies to see before the end of the year with David Lowery's Peter Pan and Wendy. Check this out this week, and it's very good. I feel like, again, not reinventing the wheel, not trying to overdo things here. I loved Drew Law in this. I love the movie overall. I very much enjoyed Jim Gaffigan as the what's his name? As Shmee, Mr. Shmee. Yeah, I thought that was very funny.
He's so good as Shmee. He's so like when he shows up, it's like, is that Jim fucking Gaffigan? Because that would be great casting. And you're like, yep, that's because you're like, is that Jim Gaffigan, or does Jim Gaffigan just look so much like Shmee that whoever they put is Shmee would look like Jim Gaffigan?
Yeah. It's always funny to me to see like American comedians working across from like very thespian English actors. Yeah.
You're like, oh, cool. This is that guy who did all those funny stand-up videos about being really white. Great.
Yeah, the Pop-Tart guy. Yep. Great.
Yeah. Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets, yes. Not
yeah.
Yeah. Not what did I say?
He said Pop-Tarts, which he does make where he's like, take a Pop-Tart, put a bunch of meat in it, dunk in the toilet.
So yeah, very much enjoyed Peter Pan and Wendy. Did very much enjoy your top 5 things I should see before the end of the year. Yeah. Let's go to something you've been watching. Priscilla, we've teased this multiple times on this show. Yes. It's coming out this week. It's coming out next week. Somebody will see it eventually. Someone
else will see it. I was like, I guess I should. I got off work and I was like, well, I got some time to kill. I got one AMC pass left. Might as well go see Priscilla. And it's good. You like imagine in your mind, if you will, what if Sofia Coppola made a movie about Elvis's wife, and then that's exactly what it is. It's like you're like, yeah, you get exactly what you expect, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting as a counterpoint to last year's Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, because it is like the opposite of that movie. Because Luhrmann is so like showy and doing all these things and blah blah blah, and Tom Hanks is doing the voiceover, and like this is like so slow and methodical and very Sofia Coppola. People are looking through the windows and shit like that, and you're even seeing some of the same events and done in a completely different tone and style and with different cinematography and lighting and colors, but also from a different perspective of the character in the film. Thinking of, and this isn't a spoiler because it's something that happened in the real world 50 years ago.
Right.
And it's so obviously it's a big point in both these characters' lives when Elvis and Priscilla break up. And that way that is handled in both of these movies is, I think, a really fascinating counterpoint. And I think that honestly, I liked this movie a lot on its own. I didn't like Elvis. I think they work best when compared to each other. I think they work really well as counterpoints in just as almost like an interesting film experiment of style and substance and perspective. Of the kind of same things and I really dug this one a lot. Elvis is a big creep. I will say that Elvis is a creep.
Yeah, again,
who is like 16 years old, and he was like fucking 27 or some shit like that. I don't even know.
Crazy,
wild.
Yeah. No, it goes back to that whole of like with May December. It's just like how many. Mm-hmm. How many relationships like this, and how many, what really gets me, man? I thought about this. The people that are so up in arms about like protect the children and get the groomers and get the fucking, get the, what do you call them? Human trafficking. Dude, human trafficking's everywhere, man. We gotta stop the fucking cabal of blah, blah, blah. It's like, no. This is what that is. This is grooming. This is the fucking May December groomed her and Elvis groomed Priscilla. This is the stuff that's happening right in front of your face, and you're out here in these fucking weird conspiracy theories about the cabal, about all these fucking high-ranking people that are paying people to smuggle people in trunks across borders. No, it's right here in front of your face, and it's happening all the time, and you're just like, I wish I was that kid in school. I would have fucked her. Blah, blah, blah. No, you wouldn't. And you'd have massive mental and emotional trauma from it too. So it's just like the amount of people, the amount of fucking brain dead, smooth brain fuckheads that look at this stuff and go, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It astounds me. It astounds me. Yeah. So, good movie though.
Yeah, so I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it.
Okay.
Anyway.
What was I going to say about this?
Very, very good movie. I think if you like Sofia Coppola, you'll like this movie. It just depends on how much you like her other stuff. is so if you don't like Sofia Coppola, maybe skip it. But if you're a really big fan of hers, watch it. I'm kind of in the middle, so I found it pretty good.
Where would you rank it
Not
amongst
the best,
her?
but pretty good.
Yeah, where'd you rank it amongst her?
I honestly haven't seen a ton of her stuff. I've only seen, obviously, I think number one has to be Lost in Translation.
Yeah,
that is such a incredible film.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what other stuff of hers I've seen. I haven't seen Bling Ring. I've seen Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
Marie Antoinette. I think I didn't like it as much as either of those two that I've seen of hers, and then I've seen A Very Merry Christmas, which is fine.
Did you see?
Yeah.
What was the other one I saw of hers? Yeah,
those are the only three. Those are only four of hers I've seen.
Gotcha. You haven't seen Virgin Suicides. You haven't seen Somewhere. What else was the other one? The Beguiled.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Yeah,
On
that
was the Beguiled. Yeah.
On the Beguiled. On the Rocks was fine. I probably put On the Rocks near the bottom. Bling Ring near the bottom. Then Marie Antoinette, and like you said, Lost in Translation probably near the top. So Priscilla sounds like it'd probably be near the middle for me as well. What do you say? We take a break, and when we come back, we'll do some more of what you've been watching and Letterboxd assignments. And we're
burned
back
through your whole list of what we've been watching.
Yeah, we are back, and I burned through some of my list. I still got a couple more.
Oh, you got a little bit left. Yeah, we both had real big lists.
I
saw how big your list was, so I'm like, okay, I've been watching all this stuff. I'll throw it all on there.
Yeah,
it'll just be a big what we've been watching episode before the end of the year.
Big grab bag, everything we've watched to the end of the year. So I don't think any of this stuff will get even honorable mention. Maybe one, like you said. Is Godzilla going to be in my list or not? It's possible to get on there. May December might get on there. I kind of felt like that was very much an awards baity. Not pretentious because it was very good, but one of those that a lot of people will be talking about.
That's how I felt about Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, it's going to get a lot of praise, and deservingly so. But yeah, so let's go back to
it's good, but I'm like, I feel like it's just like there's just so much here that's just like, all right, please awards now.
Yeah, Sandra Hüller is going to get a lot of attention. Did you listen to the Filmcast this week where they're talking about Zone of Interest and something else that Jeff was like, I get it, but I don't. And it's fine that it's getting so much attention.
I started it, but I stopped at one point because they started talking about something that I really wanted to see that I didn't want.
Was it Zone of Interest?
Spoilers.
No, it was. Was it that? What did they talk about this week? Let me pull it up. He said something about something. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. That's a very Jeff-coded thing to say. Let's see. Podcast, Filmcast. They talked about, it was May December. That was, okay. So, Jeff had a similar reaction to May December as he did to Zone of Interest. He was like, yeah, it's, I understand why it's getting praise. I understand why it's going to win a lot of awards. But very much not my thing.
Yeah.
He also said, like, I don't understand why so many critics are putting it in their top 10. It's like, brother, this is the same people that put stuff like that on their top 10 are the same people that put, Gene Dealman as the best movie of all time last year on the Sight and Sound list. Yeah. It's like, how are you surprised that those people would like that type of movie?
I'm surprised that movie, Youth, and then it's in quotation, Spring, is not on the documentaries list, because that movie is just, let's follow around Chinese teenagers working in sweatshops for 3.5 hours. It's literally what it is. Like, I'm really surprised that's not getting more buzz with, like, because I even compared it in the thing I wrote to Jean Dielman, because it feels like the documentary version of that.
Yeah. There was a documentary on Criterion that was literally 8 hours of a group of people working in a bowling alley, like, repair shop. I forget what it was called. And
it's the first in a trilogy. He's gonna make 2 more movies.
Really?
Wang Bing, I think is his name. Wang Bing. Bing Wang.
All right. All right, let's go. Excuse me. Let's finish up what you've been watching. You watch Wish, which is like, I've heard this described as like, it's like Amazon, but it's the Wish. You know how people say, it's the Wish version of this item from Amazon because Wish is like the Chinese Amazon. Yeah, so this is like the Chinese version of a Pixar movie.
Yeah, it sucks. It fucking sucked.
This movie
was bad. It fucking sucked. Like the only good thing about this movie was because I love how this movie, and this is interesting because it leads into another point. Is like, hey, this is like the culmination of 100 years of Disney animation or Disney Studios. You know, Walt Disney founded, Disney founded. Because like this is like if you've seen any Disney movies this year, they start with like the Disney 100. There's been all the Disney, like they did that at the Oscars. It's 100 years. Walt Disney fucking came out with the first Mickey Mouse cartoon, like Steamboat Willie, like 100 years ago. And they're like, oh my god, like this is like the 100 years. Here's this movie. It's gonna be like this movie that's very Disney, and it's gonna have all the star stuff, and there's gonna be a million fucking Easter egg references, and there's gonna be a guy that's just cosplaying as Peter Pan for no reason in it, and it just it sucks so. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna like use a combination of the CGI that we've been doing for the past 15 years with some of traditionally animated backgrounds that we haven't had since Princess and the Frog, and it looks fucking terrible. It looks worse than either of those stuff. It legitimately looks like it should be airing on the Disney Channel. Like it looks like Jake and the Neverland Pirates or some shit like that. I don't understand how it looks that bad. And it's this Disney. It's part of Disney's supposed to be this is their big year, and it's like one of the worst years that a company has had at the box office in the history of movies. Yeah. Like if you look at it, if you just break it down by how much, and that's not even counting stuff like Peter Pan and Wendy, which did not even get a release. If you just look at box office receipts and like versus budget and versus like prints and advertising and like just overall take. Not counting DVDs or like merch or anything like that, they've lost like $1.2 billion at the box office. Like it's insane. It's insanity. Like Dan Merrill did a really great breakdown last week. I would recommend if anybody else cares about these things, just it's insane how bad Disney is doing this year. Guardians was the only one to break or to make a profit at the box office. You know, and a lot of those movies will be profitable at some point. But just if you're talking just straight up box office receipts, they had one hit, and then they had like a bunch of like big colossal failures, including unfortunately it was a good movie, but it cost a shit ton. And that's the thing. Disney is spending so much fucking money on these movies that they have to like perform like crazy and make $1 billion. And this is the first year that, you know, other than 2020 and 2021, which were pandemic affected, that since who knows when, that Disney hasn't made $1 billion with at least one movie at the box office. So it's wild, and it just sucks. It's a boring movie. Chris Pine has some fun villain songs. That's it. It's really boring and unmotivated, and the plot is dumb and generic and makes no sense.
All right. Do not recommend, is what you're saying. All right. So moving on to Mr. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. I'm trying to think of the last Eli Roth movie that I remember being excited for. How did you think? I mean, think of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, this is, you know, I watched this like a couple days after Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's just kind of a fun slasher in like a feels like a well-made slasher from like the 80s, you know. That's you know, my favorite slashers are whodunits. This is very much a whodunit. It's like, oh, who's the pilgrim who's slashing up everybody, or where the fuck this character is.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool, there's, you know, dumb teens that are getting killed and people are getting killed, and you've got Patrick Dempsey like, Thanksgiving is an institution and people are getting killed. Well, right down the street from Damian, we're in Massachusetts. I was thinking of you when I was watching the movie, because I was like, oh, right, this is Damian's neck of the woods. You know,
it's like the other side of the state, but yes.
Yeah, but the other side of the state for you is like a 20-minute drive. The other side of the state for me is like a fucking 5-hour flight.
No, the other side of the state for me is Boston. That's 3 hours from here. I don't think you realize how large Massachusetts is. Yes, we are a smaller state. We don't have the length, and I understand California is like the fifth.
It's got
like,
the length
biggest...
and the girth, my friend.
I understand California is like the eighth largest economy in the world, but we export a lot of important things here too. Assholes. Okay. And assholes and Dunkin' Donuts. All right, those are important things.
Well, you guys are falling on hard times with the Patriots, but I would say if I got in a plane and flew for 3 hours, I would be halfway across California.
Okay, all right, you're bigger. West Coastal lead over here.
Yep,
my state's so big.
You're on the fucking coast too, dickhead.
It's a different elitism.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so you recommend thumbs up Thanksgiving?
If you like slasher movies, it's a fun way to kill the time. If you got you want to watch something on Thanksgiving, I predict this is going to be a let's watch it every Thanksgiving type thing, because movies that are holidays, it's always like, oh, it's Groundhog Day, we got to watch Groundhog Day, or oh, it's Halloween, let's watch Halloween, or oh, Friday the 13th, let's have a marathon of those movies, So I could see this becoming in that same rotation, although I guess people haven't really attached to Leap Day yet, but I guess there's been too few of those since it's been released.
Yeah. All right. You also checked out a movie called Please Don't Destroy, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain, written by the Please Don't Destroy guys. I think they're part of the SNL crew now. They're SNL writers on that show.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of people in here, produced by Judd Apatow. A bunch of SNL people in here, so it should give us a pretty good idea of what we're expecting. Is that exactly what we get here? Another what's that?
These guys are The Lonely Island is what you're thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, these guys are just like the next generation of The Lonely Island. And this is absurdist comedy. It's very over the top. You have Conan O'Brien in this playing one of the main character's dads, and he's just going like, whenever you watch Conan, he does like his bits where he's like, I'm a crazy guy. Ooh, hey, I'm doing a voice. I'm doing my Conan voice. Ho. He's doing that the entire book.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great. It's like, I'll give you a tip here, Damian. It's not going to come on my top 10 of the year list, but I had a fun time watching it. I got drunk with my brother and I watched it, and it was the perfect movie for that.
Yeah.
So I would recommend in that scenario.
Nice.
If you're getting drunk with my brother, then go watch it.
You mentioned that this probably won't be in your top 10 list, but I'm curious if the next movie is going to be How to Blow Up a Pipeline. This is my number one recommended movie to watch before the end of the year. What'd you think of it?
This was good. I'm not the first person to say this, but I did definitely notice it when I was watching the film. I was like, it's very Ocean 11's-esque. It's very, heisty. Here's the plan. Oh no, is something going wrong with the plan? Or was that the whole part of the plan? And here we show you all the scenes, and it's just like, it's very good. But it feels like, a very conscious, socially conscious version of that, where instead of like, hey, we're going to steal from Terry Benedict's casinos, we're going to blow up, like the title says, a pipeline. It's all about, social awareness and justice and, making actual change. I like this a lot. A lot of relatively unknown actors who are all really great. Although it was driving me crazy. I was trying to figure out what I knew the main character from, Sochi. And the actress is from Runaways, that Marvel TV show that nobody watched except for me, which is pretty solid. Let's see. Her name is Ariel Bauer, and she was really great. Everybody in this was really great. Diverse cast. I think that one thing that the film did well was that it had people who were like people who you would traditionally think of as activists, and then you have somebody who's a just kind of a redneck, and you have these two characters that are in a lesbian relationship. You have these kind of anarchists. You have all these different characters coming together because this is a thing that unites people, that affects all of us. I felt there's a lot of things that's like, okay, well, people in this part of the world in Texas are being affected in this way, and then there's big parts of this that are like, oh yeah, they're in Long Beach, and there's this one character has cancer because she grew up next to the oil refinery in Long Beach. And it's like, I grew up, just down the street from that, probably, half the distance that it would take you to drive to Boston from Long Beach.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But
it's a large state, son. It's a large state. Gotta go large.
It's a tiny little. All those eastern states are small. Yeah, look at compared to Rhode Island.
Small.
Anyway, we're but yeah, no, I dug this quite a bit.
Yes, it was very good. The guy
may or may not show up on my top 10.
May or may not. Cannot confirm nor deny whether this movie will be in my top 10 list. Jake Weary. Let me pull up. I don't know if you know his face from anything. He was in the horror film It Follows. Let me see if I can find a picture of him. I remember that movie. He was in It Follows. He was in It Chapter 2. He was in the TNT drama series Animal Kingdom, the TV version of that. Flip this, guys. I'll just send you the Google results. You can probably see that. And there. This dude.
Oh, he's that guy. He's such a generic white guy. I know exactly his face. He's like that guy.
He's that guy.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So there's all that.
That guy. Yes.
Oh
yeah, It Follows. Like he's guy who he's like has sex with the beginning. Oh no. Yeah,
he's the main guy. He's the first
main guy. Yeah.
He's the first one.
He's like, I'm the handsome guy. It follows. You should probably sleep with me. I'm handsome.
They have to go back to him and he gives it to her, and then she's like, "You fucking dick! You gave this, supernatural STD to my friend, and you just walked away and you didn't say anything about it." Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's that. A couple more before we get to Letterboxd assignments. The Curse is the black comedy drama, psychological thriller, satire thing on Showtime. It's on Paramount Plus as well. Debuted on October 12th at the New York Film Festival. Obviously stars Mrs. Emma Stone, Nathan Fielder, and Betty Safdie, created by Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie. Is essentially about, the premise is, the series explores how an alleged curse disturbs the relationship of a newly married couple as they try to conceive a child while co-starring on their problematic new HD TV show, Flipanthropy. So the basic premise of that show, the show within the show, is that they're building these super eco-friendly houses that are built out of glass. So the idea is that the glass will reflect and refract any sort of incoming heat or any incoming, sun rays, and sort of make it much more easier to live make it easier to heat in the summer, and also easier to cool in the summer, easier to heat in the winter. That's the idea behind it. And it sort of explores that, that idea of like liberal white guilt, or, liberal guilt of like, we do so many shitty things and we have to sort of help people out in this way. But then, when the cameras are off and the show's not going, what kind of people are they really? That's that sort of thing. And of course, just if you've seen anything with Nathan Fielder in it, it's just uncomfortably, disturbingly, painfully awkward. Just, oh God. There's this moment at the end of the fourth episode. The fifth episode is out now. I still have to see that one, but there's a moment where Emma Stone, Whitney and Asher. Asher is Nathan Fielder. So Whitney and Asher, they have this weird dynamic where it just feels like because Whitney's family has money that Asher's just with her for the money, but they're both trying to do their own thing, and they're both trying to like have this weird like non-sexual relationship, and they have this moment, not a big spoiler, but early in the season where they're having sex, but it's more like Asher's just like pleasuring her, and then she's like has this dildo going, and he's on the side here, and they're not really interacting, and he's like, "Can I join this time?" Because they're doing this weird role play thing. So it's a very, very awkward relationship they have. And at one point, Whitney says, "You have this charisma about you. You're very funny. You're a very good-looking guy. You should go take like acting lessons or improv lessons or some kind of lessons." At the end of the fourth episode, he goes there, and there's this introductory period where the instructor is like, "Let's just everybody make a noise, make a weird thing, and we'll all laugh and just try to get loose." And she's like, "Okay." They go around the room. Everybody makes a noise. It focuses on Asher's face as he's waiting for his turn, and he's like watching them come along, watching them get to him, and then he just goes. It's just like, what the fuck was that? what was that? It's so fucking weird, dude. And it just ends with this face of just like, and then nobody laughs. Nobody says anything. And the coach just goes, okay. So anyways, dude, I can't even explain to you how fucking weird the show is and how weird he is on this show, and just the dynamic he has with other people. And Benny Safdie's like this weird guy who's got long. He looks like not David Blaine. What's the other guy?
Chris Angel?
Chris Angel. He looks like Chris Angel. He's got like rings on all his fingers. He's got long hair and a beard, and he wears leather, and he's just a weird guy. Dude, this show is so weird. I really want you to watch this just so
right, I can. What's it streaming on?
It's streaming on Paramount Plus. It's also on the Plex over there. So definitely check it out there. Yeah. Definitely recommend that. And then, of course, Murder at the End of the World still going. Still one of those shows. I'll probably be mentioning it at the end of the year as something that's, maybe just sits right outside my top 10 TV shows of 2023. Still very good. Still got that weird what's going on here, and sort of I know it's an overused phrase, but that mystery box shows. But it's literally takes place in a compound that's shaped like a box, and it's got weird basement stuff and weird stuff where people are communicating with Morse code using flashlights, and it's just what's going on here thing to it. So definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't.
Nice.
Yes. Nice. So there's that.
I do plan on it. There's a lot of TV to watch.
There's so much. Yes. Like I said, Blue Eye Samurai, I just barely caught up with that so I could listen to the Midnight Boys Pew Pew, talk about the reactions to that. So, yeah. Let's get to Letterboxd assignments.
Are we not going to talk about the rest of the things that I watched?
Did we miss one? What did we miss?
You missed two. You missed
Where?
two. You skipped right over.
Oh, okay. So because it's long, a lot of words. Radiant is the blood of the baboon heart. What in the fuck is this?
See, I even cut out some of the words because the full title is The Venture Brothers: Radiant is the blood of the baboon heart. Okay, there you go. Are you a fan of the Venture Brothers?
I was on it was one of those shows that I watched alongside Adult Swim back in the day. I watched probably the first, 2 or 3 seasons of that, and I dropped off hard. I know it went for a long time, and I know it did like a bunch of time jumps, and it had a different dynamics to the family, and all the characters very much changed over time. But were you a Venture Brothers guy? Watch the whole thing?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because. I would have been like a teenager when the first few seasons were airing. I guess you would have been a later teenager, and it's because of but the thing is, like, they didn't really have time jumps as much as they just like would release a season like every 3 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Like it started in, I want to say pretty early
2004, around there.
Yeah. So and then. They would release, and then they released 9 seasons, but season 9 came out in, I think it was 2018.
Yes.
So there was a lot of big gaps there, because they would just spend a lot of time being like, we've got to get this right. And I actually wasn't even fully caught up when they came out with this movie. So I went back and rewatched the season 8, which came out in 2016, and season 9, which came out in 2018. And because they had planned to do more seasons, but then they were like, it's canceled. But then they're like, okay, well, actually, that 10th season you were working on, we'll let you rework that into a movie, which was like released on VOD, and then has since gone to HBO Max, which is where I watched it. And it's a fun cap to the Venture Brothers, which I compare a lot to Adventure Time. Because they're both like Cartoon Network things. This was like definitely like the one you stay up late to watch, Adult Swim, but they were both things where it's like, there's this thing that starts off like a one-off little joke at the end of the episode, and by season 8's become like the deepest part of the lore, and it explains half the things in the universe have all come out of that. And so if you had watched this having not seen any Venture Brothers, or even not the last couple seasons, you would be like, what is even happening? What is this stuff? What is going on? Because I thought about like, I'll just get into it. I was like, no, there's way too much plot in the Venture Brothers to just jump in. But it is so funny. It's got so many, just like I love watching this because of all the like hyper specific pop culture references that like, if you don't get it, it's just like, oh, that's a weird funny thing they did. But if you do, you're like, oh my god, that's a reference to the scene of Minority Report when she yells, "John, you're gonna have to run!" Rah! You know, you're like, oh my god, they put that in the fucking movie. Like, it's just shit like that is like such deep cuts. You're like Dean is dressing like fucking like he wears the exact outfit starting in like season 8 of Steve McQueen in some fucking old Steve McQueen movie. You're just like stuff like that. So funny. It's so weird. The characters are have these great relationships. People will disappear for seasons and come back, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, it's this guy! I've totally forgot about him. It makes sense that he'd be here." You know, all the voice acting is great. You could see more Venture Brothers coming out after this, but if this is truly of the end of the Venture Brothers, it's a good place to leave it.
Nice, very cool. It debuted in 2004 or 2003. And then, like you said, ended in 2018. Very strange coincidence that you brought this up on this show, because on the show they have a character named Dr. Henry Killinger, obviously a reference to Kissinger. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that. There's David Bowie is like the sovereign of the Guild of Calamitous Intent. Like it's a lot of just pop culture and just like the world at large references. They make Henry Kissinger into a literal supervillain. It's pretty great.
Awesome. And then last thing we got here is Fairway Downs, which was a reimagination.
Faraway Downs.
Fairway Downs.
Far away.
Far away downs. Okay.
Not fair. It's not a golf course, Damian.
Reimagining, would you say, of the 2006 movie Australia? Right?
I would say 2008. It's a reinterpretation, reimagining, remix, however you want to say. Because it's Baz Luhrmann was sitting around during COVID because Tom Hanks was the first person to get COVID, as we all know. So that shut down Elvis. And I like this a lot more than Elvis. I never saw the original Australia, but it worked really well as a miniseries. It feels really well paced out, or as it's put in the title of the show, a film in 6 chapters. With this, he shifts the story to be very much focused on the Aboriginal storylines, the stolen generation, kind of the atrocities that were committed by the white settlers against the native population in Australia takes center stage. And it does feel like this big sweeping epic from the 30s, like Gone with the Wind or something like that. So I really dug this. I think that I could see this being an overstuffed 3-hour movie, but as a 6-part miniseries, you could just watch an episode and kind of have a beginning, start, and end of the episode and be like, cool, I'll come back to this in a little bit. It worked really well, where you could just kind of watch at your own pace. I think that maybe some of the movies that are coming out in theaters, like Killers of the Flower Moon, could have taken a page out of this book.
Yes. Yes.
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, that is one of the Baz Luhrmann blind spots for me. I caught up with The Great Gatsby and Moulin Rouge last couple of years. Let's see, still got to see Australia. Obviously saw Romeo and Juliet when it first came out. That was like peak time for me, for a lot of girls in the class to watch that movie and to understand Shakespeare in a contemporary way. Yeah.
Give me my longsword, and it's just a gun that says longsword on it.
Incredible. So there is that. All set, yes, with your stuff.
Yeah, that about does it.
All right, so let's get to Letterboxd assignments. Last time I had Sator, did not do my homework as per usual. Did you catch up with The Red Shoes?
I did, and it was late last night, and I was like, I still have to do my assignment. I was like, I got work in the morning, then I got Godzilla -1, and then I'm in the podcast. So I don't really have a 2-hour gap, so I guess I'm just gonna stay up, not get enough sleep, and watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's something I really had wanted to watch for a long time. And I was like, you know what? It came off in the Letterboxd shuffle. I've been missing too many recently, and I am so glad that I watched this, because this was an absolutely phenomenal film.
Yes.
I really dug it. I've been thinking about it like all day. It's like, I think that Darren Aronofsky owes Michael Powell some money.
Oh yeah,
because like Black Swan is just cribbing this movie really hard.
Oh yeah,
but not just that. It's a lot of those movies like Whiplash or things like where it's like about an obsessive performer. You could maybe even throw the wrestler in that, and about how they're, obviously I mentioned the Black Swan and the ballerina stuff, about, the choice between life and art, or love and art, or, your passion for someone else, or your passion for, being able to be the greatest creator in whatever your field, and the destructive paths that take. I think it's also a really interesting look at the truly collaborative way that film and performance art is different than a lot of like other art forms, like a painting or like writing a novel. And just as far as like that's all great. There's like a 17-minute sequence in the middle where it is just one of the most amazingly shot things I've ever seen in my life, that is doing some stuff that has not been rivaled on film for who knows how long. And speaking of being on film, this is like the best looking Technicolor film I think I've ever seen.
Yes.
I was watching this and I was like, why don't movies look like this anymore? Everything looks so like, everything just looks like you're looking through a window at something. Like, this looks like you're watching a fucking movie. Like the reds and just the blues and like the colors in it, like, so they just pop in that way that only those like really early Technicolor films could. That 3-strip method that, I'm like, we've got to have a filter that can do that. Like we can make anything look like fucking anything. We could tell AI what's Joe Biden's butthole look like, and it'll spit something out. Like, why can't we have a fucking movie that looks good? So, oh man, it was just amazing to see, just heartbreaking and tragic and beautiful, and God, it was just like, this is what it feels like to be a fucking artist and have a passion, and so good. I can't stop thinking about it. My Letterboxd review was let me pull it up, because I want to quote myself exactly right here. Sure. I put how the fuck did I live 34 years on this earth and not watch this movie until today? God damn, dude. I'm so glad I watched this and I didn't skip the assignment.
Yeah, I'm glad you watched it as well. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as you did. Yeah, one of my favorites I've seen of that era, of that style of filmmaking. And I totally agree that we should be reaching and should be striving to make movies like this again. Wholeheartedly agree with that. Yep. So with that, let's go to assignments again. Watch list shuffle. I have 290 movies on here. I'm going to go full shuffle. I got a bunch of new stuff on here. Some stuff I added because they did a preview. They did a what's coming for the Sundance Film Festival. There's some things I added for that, so it'll be interesting to see what pops up. So I'm going to hit shuffle on here, and we get The Green Mile. It is a movie I have not seen. I've seen, parts of this. I've seen clips. I've seen write-ups. Frank Derick directed 1999. Again, another example of why that year was the best year in movies of all time. I definitely will be checking this out. I sort of stayed away from it because of its length. 189 minutes. So that's what, a little over 3 hours. Yeah. All right. Definitely will finally check that off my list.
I remember being like 10 years old and like seeing my parents like watching this in their room. And I was like, what are you guys watching? And they're like, oh, it's The Green Mile. And I'm just seeing like what's his name? The big guy.
Yeah. 1 second.
The big main guy, not Tom Hanks, the other guy. And why am I forgetting his name?
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan. He like opens his mouth and like locusts come out or something. I don't know. I was like, what is this movie? It looks boring, and I didn't like. It was 10, so I was like, later.
Yeah, another Frank Darabont, Stephen King adaptation. So definitely want to check that out. Okay. Yep. So you will go to your watch list.
Got mine pulled up. Got sorted or pulled up by favorited services and whatnot. All right, here we go. Phil Tippett's Mad God.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you not watch that when it came out? Thought you did.
I didn't. I was like, I added it to my watch list. I never actually got around to it.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, this will be interesting.
Yeah, dude. Can't wait to see what you think of this, because I know you sung his praises before, And
I'm a big fan of Phil's. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very much his like. This is what I do. This is what I can do, given no restraints. This is just me going full id, right? Full subconscious, just me raw Phil Tippett id.
They made the fucking episode of Poker Face about him making this. They got perfect casting. Nick Nolte be like, I've got all these demons in my head and I'm gonna make them out of clay.
Yeah, just yes, incredible. Can't wait for you to watch this. See what you think of it. All right, so there is that. Let's do some plugs. 51 away from 300 followers. Keep climbing that boards. That number keeps going up. So everybody go there. Go to Santa Claus Kinski. I'll plug something. I'll put a thing out on Twitter or put a thing out on Threads. I'll put a thing out on Instagram so everybody can follow me there. Film Essayist on YouTube. Go to Spotify for podcasters. Make a podcast. Check out all my interviews with B.R. Yeager, Cinema Tech, and all the stuff me and Deanne did earlier in the year, breaking down Succession Season 4, the finale, the final season of Succession, and doing a breakdown of The Bear Season 2. Derick, what you got to plug?
I got to plug my other podcast that I do, which is Underrated. Just look up Underrated Movie Podcast everywhere. It's on all the apps, however you're listening to this, on YouTube, all those places, on all the socials. It's also Underrated Movie Podcast on Letterboxd and all that stuff. You can also follow me, not on Letterboxd, on Instagram. You can follow me on Letterboxd.
Yes.
It's just going to be, look up, what's just Derick McDuff on Letterboxd. Just Derick,
yes.
Whatever.
Nothing fancy.
Just Derick89. Derick89.
Yeah.
1 R and an ICK. But yeah, that, and then, also the Patreon, Underrated Movie Podcast on Patreon. So yeah, all that good stuff.
Yes, and I want to do another show before the end of the year, but just in case we don't, everybody have a happy, safe, fantastic New Year and Christmas and all of that. So
yeah. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy Merry Christmas, happy Toyota-thon.
Happy all of that stuff. Yeah. So for the Midnight Film Society podcast, I've been Damian.
And I've been Derick.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.